Dumelang, welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Clement Manyatela. Great to have you with us here on SABC News. On the show tonight, was the ANC's Johannesburg elective conference credible? That's what some members of the ANC in the region are asking, following reports that ballot papers used at the conference were found at a house in Pretoria over the weekend, and of course the complaint by the former regional leader Dada Morero alleging irregularities during that conference. The ANC in Johannesburg speaks to us. Also on the show, now that the Chief of Staff for the Social Development Minister, Tolashe, has resigned after she was suspended following revelations that she was hired as the Minister's Chief of Staff without qualifications, who takes the accountability for that appointment? The Minister seemed to lay the blame on the former Chief of Staff and the Director General, but is that where the buck stops? The Public Service Commissioner, Prof Somadoda Fikeni, who investigated this matter, reveals his findings tonight. Plus, the Eastern Cape Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, has described as mischievous relations between the Abathembu King, Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo, and the Israeli government. This follows the King's visit to Israel and donations from Israel to some Eastern Cape public hospitals facilitated by the King. The Premier's office explains what the process will now follow. And then later, is this the end of the road for Damelin College and its associated institutions? The Department of Higher Education seems to believe so, following the institution's failure to submit its 2025 annual reports. But would the shutdown of Damelin mean for its student? What really would it mean? We'll find out from the department's Director General in a moment. But first, my comment. So, KwaZulu-Natal Hawks Head Major General Lesetja Sinona has testified at the Madlanga Commission today. He had a difficult day, honestly, on the stand, with a barrage of questions, some of which he was not able to answer. Sinona appeared before the Commission to respond to allegations made against him, including that he has had a seemingly transactional relationship with Vusmuzi Ket Matlala. Sinona told the Commission that Matlala is like a brother to him, and there was nothing untoward with him accompanying Matlala to a meeting that he had with Julius Mkhonazi. He was asked by the Commission why he sent Ket Matlala a letter about the disbandment of the PKTT.
Merely forwarded the letter to Mr. Matlala as it was garnering the attention of many, including myself, on social media.
General, Ms. Hassim, I know you said no probing questions, but perhaps what I want to ask may, in a sense, cross the line, but I just feel I must ask the questions at this stage. General, to your knowledge, was the disbandment of the PKTT a subject of interest to Mr. Matlala?
We were just sharing information that was on social media, and
can you please just answer the question directly? Was this a subject of interest to Mr. Matlala?
I do not know if it was a subject of interest to him, Commissioner.
So did you forward the letter to him of your own accord, or had he asked for it?
It was on my own accord, Commissioner.
Of your own accord. And if you were not aware that this was a subject of interest to him, why would you have done so?
I was not aware, but we are sharing things that are on social media that are garnering the attention of many. It garnered my attention, and we just share. I just forwarded it.
Sinona also claimed that KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhonazi offered to pause investigations against Ket Matlala for the attempted murder of his ex-girlfriend, Tebogo Tobejane, in exchange for information on Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. He says He was in that meeting with Ket Madlanga and Mkhwanazi when this offer was made by Mkhwanazi towards Ket Madlanga.
Upon arrival, we sat in the living room area. We had conversations of a general nature. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Madlanga and Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi began their discussions on the issues of the payments. I am not privy to all that was discussed as I was moving between the living area and the kitchen. My knowledge, however, in terms of my recollection, is that the general agreed to assist Mr. Madlanga to get the purchase orders from head office, and then Lieutenant General Nkua was the, the end user of the services of this tender. And he spoke about Lieutenant General Nkua's rumors that she owning properties beyond her affordability, which might amount to corruption. And he also offered, there I heard that he also offered to hold, it's the first time I heard about the investigation against Madlanga, that to offer allegations of attempted murder against Mr. Madlanga for Tebogo Tobejani in exchange of information in relation to Lieutenant General Sibiya.
He says that after that meeting, he started receiving a series of threatening WhatsApp messages from General Mkhwanazi.
On the 26th of November 2025, I received a series of threatening WhatsApp from Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. I think they are being attached as per S4. I was sent this charge in response to Mr. Madlanga's appearance before the ad hoc committee on the 26th and 27th of November. These messages, they appear threatening to me, they are threatening to me and Mr. Madlanga, and amounts to intimidation.
So the big question has been, what relationship does he have with Ket Madlanga? Because the WhatsApp messages that have been provided before the Madlanga Commission shows quite an extensive relationship between the two of them. He was asked about the relationship he enjoys with Ket Madlanga.
You knew that this meeting was to facilitate assistance for Mr. Madlanga with his contractual problems with the SAPS, isn't that so?
I knew that it was regarding the purchase orders.
Right.
Because I asked, what is it the meeting all about? It was regarding the purchase orders.
Mm. And you didn't see any problem with that?
Correct.
You didn't see any problem with assisting a service provider to the SAPS who's having difficulties with their contract to facilitate or smooth the way? You had no problem with that as a very senior law enforcement officer responsible for organized crime, including, as you told us, one of the national priority crimes is government fraud.
I didn't see it as a problem accompanying a brother, a younger brother, to a meeting that I was not a full participant there. I was not. They were talking. The first time we were talking general things, and then from there they started to interacting their things.
And while he had accompanied Ket Madlanga to that meeting with Mkhwanazi that allegedly was meant to resolve Madlanga's contractual issues with the SAPS, Sinona says he has never helped Madlanga with the tender. So the question we're asking you tonight is what you make of that testimony by Major General Lesetja Sinona, his testimony at the Madlanga Commission today. Are you satisfied with his responses? And what do you make of the allegation that he's making against the KwaZulu-Natal Police Provincial Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, that he somehow was promising to pause investigations into Ket Madlanga in exchange for information on Shadrack Sibiya? Do you believe that is the case, or do you think that he's probably just trying to throw some mud at the Provincial Commissioner? You can share your thoughts with us by sending us an X on @FaceTheNation SABC, or you can give us a call right now on 011-714-0677 or 011-714-0678. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. The ANC's newly elected Johannesburg leadership has rejected claims that its recent elective conference was flawed. The conference, which saw Loyiso Masuku elected as regional chair and a defeat for current Johannesburg mayor Dada Morero, has been dogged by allegations of irregularities and ballot box tampering, with ballots believed to be linked to the conference found in a house in Pretoria. The region says concerns about the process should be raised through official channels. Mantombi Nkosi is the ANC Greater Johannesburg regional spokesperson and joins us now. Mantombi, thank you so much for making time. Good evening.
Good evening to yourself and your viewers.
So was your elective conference credible? That's what some of the ANC members are asking themselves in the region.
The elective conference was credible. We had a deployee from national office. We had deployees from the provincial structure. And we'd like to believe that the conference was indeed credible. There were processes that were followed as per our constitution, and it was officiated at the end on the 5th of December that the conference was definitely credible and we were democratically elected.
Yeah. So what were these ballot papers that were used at the conference doing at this house in Pretoria? What do they suggest?
Look, that has absolutely nothing to do with us as the newly elected structure. I think you would have seen the communique that would have come out from national office that there is an investigation around those ballot papers. But as to what they were doing there and the whole thing that transpired there is really not in our ambits. I think we have an electoral committee that really deals with such investigations, and there is an investigation that's currently undergoing. So we really, as the region, can't comment on that.
The secretary of the region last night was saying that it seemed like it was like a Hollywood movie kind of a setup when these boxes were found there, because there are some national leaders of the ANC that were at the house. What did he mean by that? Is there a suggestion that this may have been a setup?
Look, it was definitely a Hollywood scene that we would have seen there that had nothing to do with the internal processes of the ANC. But like I said, the PTT, the NEC and the Electoral Commission are better fit to actually explain what exactly transpired there. What happened there has absolutely nothing to do with us.
But these ballot boxes were used at the conference. Have you guys been able to verify that? Or?
They are alleged to have been used at the conference.
So you haven't been able to verify if really they are the ones?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Dada Morero's complaint? Because he's also complained to the party's leadership, hasn't he, about the process during the elective conference. Has he not raised any concerns with the newly elected leadership?
Look, there are a number of people that would have raised concerns around, and they are well within their ambit to raise disputes. The ANC is a democratic organization and they're allowed to do that, but they don't do it through us. They do it through the upper structures, and if there are any of those disputes, the upper structures are dealing with them.
So they haven't reached you, these complaints? They've gone to the national?
Correct. We don't deal with disputes. Disputes don't come to the Regional Executive Committee. They go through the Electoral Commission, and those are the people that actually deal with whatever concerns that would have been raised. And just want to reiterate the fact that there's absolutely nothing wrong with disputes. It is part of a democratic process of the African National Congress. So
have you spoken to the provincial party about this, to the provincial leadership, about these complaints of irregularities or these concerns that have been raised, or even the allegations towards the elective conference and the leadership and how this conference was conducted?
Correct. So we have spoken to the provincial leadership, and they are yet to give us a report. Like I said, there are investigations that they're currently conducting, and they've not yet brought back the report to us. So until then, really, there is not much we really can say around those issues and the outcomes of those disputes.
The secretary of the ANC seemed to be disappointed, though, yesterday that the provincial party has not said anything about the allegations towards the ANC regional party.
Correct, and I think it is deeply concerning to not have the provincial leadership clarify some of these issues. But of course, there are internal processes, and the provincial committee is dealing with them internally. We don't report to the media on our internal processes, so I'd like to believe that the processes are still underway, and once the outcomes are complete, they will then come back and communicate this information to us.
Okay, another thing that the secretary said was that you have resolved as the ANC regional leadership that in the interest of stability, continuity and consolidation of the ANC authority in the city of Johannesburg, it was prudent that Dada Morero remains as the mayor of Johannesburg and serves in that role until what, the next local government elections?
Until the ANC deems fit.
Okay, but
Correct.
You are willing to have him continue for now, so you wouldn't want to advocate for Loyiso Masuku to be the one that takes over in the interim?
We would not want to destabilize the city, but you must remember that we are in a coalition. And much as there may be different talks around the motion of no confidence, but our stance as the African National Congress in Greater Joburg region is that we are not going to be supporting that motion of no confidence. And that's because we truly believe in the stability of government. And this is for the interest of the people of Johannesburg. Really has nothing to do with the different candidates, but it's about the stability of governance in Joburg.
As the ANC in Johannesburg, though, are you confident that Dada Morero has done an excellent job in Johannesburg?
I think we would have stipulated that in many of our statements. We would not want to keep our deployee if we did not have confidence in him.
So when South Africans and especially citizens of Johannesburg raise concerns about the state of the city, who do you think the buck stops with? I'm sure you've come across concerns from South Africans, citizens of Johannesburg. They're not happy with the state of Johannesburg. I think as the ANC, you admit that things are not really looking good. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. So who does the buck stop with, if not the mayor of Johannesburg?
Look, our focus is fixing local government, and we do agree that the people of Johannesburg may not be happy with the state of the city. And that is what our focus is as the African National Congress for this year, to fix local government and fix some of the structural issues that have been historically caused by a number of things that would have happened over the years.
Including your governance as the ANC in Johannesburg.
Correct, including the 9 different mayors that have continuously changed. Our focus is really keeping the stability in Johannesburg and fixing local government.
Okay, but are you happy that Dada, are you telling the citizens of Johannesburg right now that you as the ANC are very happy that Dada Morero is the best person who can do the job?
We are happy that, considering that we have received the positive outlook from the rating agencies last year, don't know if you would have seen those rating agencies, which indicate that there is some good work that is happening in Johannesburg. We would not receive this positive outlook if there was no good work that is being done.
But the other metrics.
As the African National Congress, we believe that there has been good work that has been done by the coalition government. And if there are conversations around the change of leadership, that will happen through the processes of the coalition.
Okay. Mantombi Nkosi, thank you so much for making time for us. She speaks on behalf of the ANC in Johannesburg. After the break, we're going to have a conversation with the Public Service Commissioner, Professor Somadoda Fikeni. Remember that 22-year-old that was promoted to be the Chief of Staff for the Social Development Minister, Tolashe, when she didn't even qualify for that position? She didn't have the requisite qualifications for the job. She didn't have the experience for the job, and she was getting paid 1.4 million rand in taxpayers' money. We spoke about it many times on the show. Well, she's finally resigned after being suspended for about 3 months. But who takes accountability for her appointment? And why is the minister not taking accountability? The Public Service Commission investigated her appointment. They'll tell us what they found in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Here's a reminder of the question we've been asking you tonight on Face the Nation. Following the testimony of the KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head, Major General Lesetja Sinona, what do you make of his testimony? Are you satisfied with his responses? And what do you make of the allegations that he made against the KZN Provincial Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, saying that General Mkhwanazi promised to halt or pause an investigation into Ket Matlala if Ket Matlala provided information on Shadrach Sibiya? You can share your thoughts on Twitter at Face the Nation. You're welcome to also give us a call on 011-714-0677 or 011-714-0678. Now, the Public Service Commission has been investigating the appointment of Social Development Minister Sisi Tolashe's 22-year-old Chief of Staff, Lesedi Mabeleja. Mabeleja has since resigned after being suspended for over 3 months. She was appointed despite lacking the required qualifications and even experience, with the minister admitting that a preliminary investigation found that her CV contained misrepresentations. Now, Professor Somadoda Fikeni is the Public Service Commission Chairperson and joins us now because it was the Public Service Commission that in fact decided to also investigate this matter. It was brought in. Prof, thank you so much for making time for us. Good evening.
Good evening, Clement, and good evening to your viewers.
So the Department of Social Development has announced that this Chief of Staff, Lesedi Mabeleja, has now resigned from the department after having been suspended on full pay for more than 3 months. What does this mean for your investigation into her appointment? Did you continue with it, and what have you found?
Our investigation is at a final stage where now the report is being compiled, and the resignation or non-resignation of the Chief of Staff has no bearing on it because mainly she did not appoint herself. Our investigation has spent more time on the role of individuals within the department, from the HR unit up to the DG, in terms of what role they played and how rules were observed or not observed. And this was an investigation that actually we decided voluntarily to do once we saw the story in the media, as a way of making sure that we promote clean governance.
Are there any irregularities that you have picked up so far? I mean, any regulations that the department may have violated? And if they violated, I mean, for instance, the public sector employment regulations, who then gets to be held accountable?
Whilst I wouldn't like to run ahead of the report before it is finalized, surely it's quite clear that a number of regulations or policies or requirements were violated, and therefore some people will have to be held accountable.
The minister seems to be pinning the blame on her former Chief of Staff, Zanele Simmons, and the DG at the department. She accused Simmons of smuggling this woman into the employee of the department by falsifying Mabeleja's CV. And then she also presented the DG at the department, Mr. Nechipale, with disciplinary charges relating to his failure to scrutinize the appointments in her office. So the minister, Tolashe, is basically pinning all the blame for this Chief of Staff's appointment on Simmons and the DG, and seemingly none on herself. Can that be the case where the minister says, well, I'm far removed from the process. These are the people who normally deal with the administration and therefore they must be held accountable. I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I wouldn't want to deal with a hypothetical situation, but where there is any dereliction of duty, or lack of oversight. The report will point at that person, irrespective of who that person might be. But if the minister happened to have a role or responsibility, because Public Service Commission focuses on public servants, it goes as far as the DG. It would refer the matter to the public protector or other agencies to deal with, especially when you are dealing with an office bearer.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like to deal with a hypothetical situation at this stage. I would simply say the report will be finalized, and the minister, the DG, and all other relevant players will be served with the outcomes of the report and what it recommends.
Yeah. Prof, I mean, we're talking here about a woman who was 22 at the time of her appointment. She was appointed the chief of staff for the minister at a salary of about 1.4 million rand annually in taxpayers' money. She did not meet even the appointment requirements in terms of both the qualifications and the experience needed. She was suspended on full pay for more than 3 months. Does she escape scot-free? No accountability on her part whatsoever? So she can't even pay back this money?
Well, I wouldn't preempt that particular process, but we must remember that the greatest weight lies on the people who appoint a person.
Yeah.
And the people who, upon realizing that there's a mistake, who allow for that payment to go on for months until the person resigns instead of trying to rectify the situation on time. And it is also very unfortunate that a young person who is supposed to be starting her career, her experience, get exposed in this particular manner. It could actually destroy a person before they even start their own career. And at another extreme level, I do think that both executive authorities and accounting officers should always be vigilant, because this particular case was quite glaring in a sense. You didn't have to dig very deep to say a person of that age could not have accumulated at least 5 years of management experience.
I mean, these things surely don't help with the push and your efforts to professionalize the public service.
There is no doubt that these are setbacks in the professionalization process. But we often ask the nation, the public service, and all well-meaning people to stand together and make sure that professionalization is enforced, because it is meant to deal with the ecosystem of meritocracy and eliminate these kinds of appointments. That's why the bringing in of external experts, that's why the integrity testing, that's why all kinds of safeguards are being put into place. That's why even lifestyle audit is being injected into the system. So the main thing from the media, the public, the scholars, the civil society is to make sure that the reforms which are put in place, we work together to make sure that they succeed, and we report whenever we see wrongdoing, even before it is actually recorded within a particular department.
All right. Professor Somadoda Fikeni, thank you so much for speaking to us. I really appreciate your time and looking forward to that final report. And as you can hear, they are finalizing the report, but Professor Fikeni confirms that already it's very clear that there are a number of laws that have seemingly been violated here. In fact, when this 22-year-old resigned from the department sent out an internal memo announcing her resignation, and they said, and I quote, "The department expresses its appreciation to Ms. Buyelekhaya for her service, commitment, and contribution made during her tenure, and wishes her well in her future endeavors," end quote. I mean, you'd swear that this is someone who really qualified for this role, and her CV wasn't falsified. And that's precisely what is the problem sometimes with the public service. You've got behavior that is clearly wrong, that has clearly violated prescripts of the law, but people are being treated as heroes. They're being behavior is clearly being condoned, even to staff members. No condemnation whatsoever of what has transpired with this person who earned 1.4 million rand annually in taxpayers' money when he didn't have the experience for the job nor the qualifications. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has accused the Israeli embassy and the Abathembu King, Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo, of breaching diplomatic protocol and undermining the sovereignty of South Africa. The embassy visited Walter Sisulu University and donated goods to hospitals without the provincial government's knowledge or approval, with the Abathembu King facilitating the meetings. Mabuyane says foreign diplomats must follow proper channels. Sonwabo Mbananga is the spokesperson to the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane and joins us now via Zoom. Sonwabo, thank you so much for making time for us. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Clement, and good evening to your viewers.
Did King Dalindyebo lie to the Eastern Cape government and the national government about his proximity and relationship with Israel?
Look, that is not our concern or what our communication was about yesterday. What we are emphatic about is that South Africa and the Eastern Cape is a country of laws, and that international relations must be conducted between country to country. And from there, the departments of different countries that need to engage in mutually beneficial programs will then undertake those interactions. It can't be that a traditional leader can then go and conduct his own foreign relations exercise, and that is reciprocated by a foreign country coming without the knowledge of the government, in this case, the Eastern Cape provincial government, coming into the province, and in fact, going as far as to impact or to even touch on public programs, particularly in this case, the public healthcare system was visited, donations were given. We welcome the donations, by the way. Development is one of the things that we are focused and passionate about in the Eastern Cape, but such support, developmental support, must come, through the correct channels, diplomatic channels. It can't that we wake up and we find an embassy active in the province without our knowledge, let alone our consent.
So to be clear, you are more concerned about how he's facilitated visits to these public institutions and not so much the fact that he went and visited Israel with his family and some members of the royal family.
And of course, to the extent that the Premier Mabuyane has indeed instructed the MEC for Health in the province to look into how access to public hospitals was gained and how, in fact, these donations were processed and received, because there's also regulation around even that, how you can bring in implements to augment or support public programs. And of course, we must also remember that the responsibility of the public here in the Eastern Cape falls squarely with the Premier. Should anything happen that is unfortunate, God forbid, that may be calamitous, the Premier would be the one who has to account. Hence, it is important that government is engaged on what programs foreign governments or organizations which are internationally based may want to bring into the province, so that we are able to interface with their programs and see, of course, that whether there is compatibility or not, and see a way forward. And to that extent, the Premier indeed, it does, in fact, even at this 11th hour, expect the Embassy of Israel to go through the correct and appropriate channels if they want to engage the developmental programs that we are advancing here in the Eastern Cape.
Okay, so to be clear, because my question was, is there an issue with him visiting Israel with members of the royal family? So you don't have issue with that. The issue is more facilitating access to these public institutions. Have I got you correct on that?
You are correct, but I also have to contextualize and maybe qualify and say that is not within our competence to have a view on the correctness or wrongness of that visit. That is for, as we've said also in our statement yesterday, for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation to make a determination on. But what we are concerned is the sovereignty and the credibility of our governance systems here in the province and in the country, and that they cannot be allowed to be violated by whomever in society.
Okay, so what is the next step in as far as these donations that were received by these hospitals are concerned? I know there's an investigation currently underway. Has the Premier had an opportunity to speak with the King to get his side of the story here on what transpired?
Not at this time. As you'll be aware, the Premier is seized with the program of government. Suffice to say that the action that has been taken thus far is to request the MEC for Health to conduct that investigation to which I alluded to earlier, specifically the access to public health facilities, as well as the donations that were received and processed, and how were those received and processed outside of regulation. And then the outcome of that investigation will then, as we've said also in our statement yesterday, give us the way forward insofar as what will be our inputs to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation to prevent similar incidences of occurring again.
All right, Sonwabo Mbananga, thanks for speaking to us, spokesperson for the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane. We'll be back after this. The Department of Higher Education and Training says private education provider Damelin faces a real risk of closure as it struggles with regulatory compliance. In December, Minister Buti Manamela issued a notice of intent to cancel the registration of Damelin City Varsity and Ikesa City Campus. The organizations have failed to demonstrate financial and operational sustainability. The closure could leave thousands of registered students, though, in limbo. So let's bring in now Dr. Nkosi Sishi, who is the Director General at the Department of Higher Education and Training. DG, thank you so much for making time for us. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having us.
So how close are you as the department to really closing Damelin College and its associated institutions? Where is the process at now?
Well, firstly, the decision to close and terminate registration of any institution is not taken lightly. But we would have gone through a lot of consideration of matters to mitigate the decision. In December, to be specific in my answer, we have issued a notice of which this was followed by their submission. And those submissions still have not satisfied us. And we can close down the institution because of that reason.
Yeah. So what timelines are we looking at? And what are some of the core reasons for the deregistration? I know that they've failed to submit their 2024 annual reports, but is the administrative and academic activities underway for this year as we speak?
Well, there are 7 major issues that we have identified. One is just the failure to comply with the requirements of the auditor's report regarding student data, which is the first one that worried us. Submission of graduation booklets. We've raised this with them, failure to submit auditor's reports on programs, submission of the SAQA report and their response to it, failure to submit the occupational health and safety audit reports. And it's quite a number of failure to submit proof of maintenance of financial surety or guarantees. And then the last one, which was the annual financial statements, which has been sitting with them for some time now. And it seems like this is the biggest area of struggle in the institution.
Yeah, I mean, DG, this is going to leave a lot of students in limbo. So how cautious are you in the process, to minimize the impact on students? And is it even possible to minimize that impact?
This is an institution that has evolved over many years and has done good work over time. There were ups and downs during this process. The department would have intervened, supporting where we can. All of this is guided by the law, but also is guided by our pursuance of good governance in our institutions. We have ensured that the compliance in terms of the deregistration also include a clause that allows them, at least for the next 12 months, to phase out the students that are currently registered, which means they cannot register new students, but they can see out those that are already in the system in the next 12 months.
Okay, and do you know if they took in new students this year for this academic year?
I hope and that they have not done so, because that would be against the law.
So what's your message then to the learners who are now worried about their qualifications from Damelin? Is that going to be impacted in any way? And for those who are still doing their first, second, or even final year, if they now are going to be out of the system before they even complete their qualifications, what happens to them? What options are available?
Yeah, I think it's important to know that they are registered in terms of the regulations on private higher education institutions. And Chapter 6 of the regulations would cover this area. Firstly, students are our biggest concern, because this is a large institution. Secondly, there are also teachers that are employed by these institutions who are also going to be affected. So we've applied our mind and we've looked carefully at this matter, and we feel that we have no option but to take the decisions that we've taken. We are going to work with the institution as they comply with the letter of cancellation of their registration, and students and teachers are going to be our primary concern as we do so. Yeah,
Damelin seems to suggest that it's going through a transition period, some restructuring of sorts, and hence these teething problems. Is that a reason that they've presented before you in their representations and submissions?
Yes, they have made such presentations, but we have indicated that in the 7 areas that I've cited, they could not satisfy us.
Yeah, so, okay, so DG, is there any other option though for the institution itself? So they've made submissions, they've made representations, you have not been satisfied with that. Is there any other option, or have we reached finality on this matter? And I'm asking this question because I was a bit confused, because it seemed like at some point Damelin was allowed to register. Registrations were cancelled before, and then they were granted complete registration again. Was it in 2025? So it's been a back and forth, which is a bit confusing about where exactly things are.
Yeah, I'm glad you're raising this, because actually there is evidence to show that we've never been trigger happy. We've never, just because you don't comply, we terminate. There's been times when they made strong submissions about the fate of students and the fate of the teachers. We've worked with the Department of Labor, because since this is a private higher institutions, they are not the employees, the teachers of the department. But we've worked with the Department of Labor to look into what can be done to support the institution. And clearly, with all of the, toing and froing, trying to support and accommodate their submission, we have reached the point now where these 7 areas that we have cited today still are not complied with, and therefore leave the department with no option but to proceed with cancellation.
And the issue of salaries, has that been sorted out? Because that was another concern by some teachers at the colleges.
We are interested in it, but it's a matter that is outside of the purview of the Department of Higher Education. It's a matter between the institution, their employer, which is Damelin, and their directors, and the Department of Labor that looks into private businesses as they are categorized in that way.
All right. Dr. Nkosi Sishi, thank you so much for making time for us. He's the Director General at the Department of Higher Education. So there you have it. Looks like the decision has been taken, the closure of Damelin and its associated institutions. I mean, the biggest concern, of course, is the thousands and thousands of students who are out there, who are still in the system. What happens to them? What about their qualifications? And that is why this is an important story to watch. We have reached out to Damelin for their side of the story, and we're still awaiting for their response. There are some tweets that have come through responding to that question we've been asking about the testimony of the KZN Hawks head, Major General Lesetja Sinona. What do you make of his testimony at the Madlanga Commission, and are you satisfied with some of his responses? Let's look at what some of you have said. On Twitter, Rabotata says Lesetja Sinona's testimony was riddled with contradictions. He was at times showing disrespect to the commission. His responses lack credibility. I'm dissatisfied. Langa says, I'm not satisfied at all. The man was trying to dodge the bullet. He was just defensive. All right, that's all we have time for. But thank you for watching the Tuesday edition of Face the Nation. Let's be back again together on Thursday at 8 p.m. Have a good evening. Cheers.